As per the requirement of Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, notice is hereby given that this is a regular meeting of the Borough of Highlands. Mayor and Council, all requirements have been met. Notice has been transmitted to the Asbury Park Press and its due time. Notice has been posted on the Public Bulletin Board. Formal action will be taken. Time may be allotted for public comment at this meeting. Each speaker may be allotted a limited time when recognized by the presiding officer. Individuals wishing to address the council shall be recognized by the presiding officer and shall give their name, address, and group, if any, they represent. Although the council encourages public participation and reserves the right to its presiding officer to terminate the remarks to and or by any individual not keeping with the conduct of a proper and efficient meeting. The council will not, during the public portion of this meeting, discuss matters involving employment, appointment, termination of employment, negotiations, terms and conditions of employment, evaluation of performance of, promotion of, or discipline of any specific prospective or current employee. Roll call. Councilmember Bajal?
Here.
Councilmember Brian?
Here.
Councilmember Zola?
Here.
Councilmember Ryan?
Here.
Mayor O'Neill is absent at this time.
So we're going to start with the recreation team. And the mayor's not here, and Tim Gonzalez isn't here, and I know that this is a big concern to everybody. We do have an ordinance right now about what the fees are, but if we decide to make changes to the fees, we'd have to do it within the next 2 meetings. We would be able to have the final hearing on June 1st and start collecting fees on June 2nd. So, well, we have been working on different fees that we were thinking could work. We did talk about having 6 separate weeks of themed weeks in order for the children to have various programs, and whether they wanted to sign up for all of the programs or 1 week, it would be up to them. And then sometimes we get limited with children signing up for the 6-week program and only attending 1 or 2 weeks, so that blocks other children that want to attend the programs to come to the ones they really want to go to. The council has the cost of what the program is, and I know that there's been a lot of talk about the grant that we used to get, but that doesn't cover everything. We haven't gotten the grant that we used to in the past. The reason is because the demographics are changing in the town, and we're not eligible for what we once were. One of the reasons for having theme weeks is we would like to see there be an educational aspect to the camp, and not educational that you have homework, but that you have interests that you can go to camp for, and maybe have a space week, maybe have a Heroes Day, but different things to have the children, hold the children's interest.
Can I interrupt for 1 moment?
Sure.
I actually have a sample of what was proposed by one of the candidates who submitted an application, and some of the themes are space theme, where campers will participate in astronomy-based crafts while learning fun facts about the planets, moon, sun, and stars. Friday of the week, they could dress up like an astronaut or an alien for the day. 1 week could be a beach theme, where campers will participate in seashore-based crafts and activities, and beach-themed activities such as beach volleyball, and learn about the shore beach environment. And on Friday, there could be a show and tell about something cool that they found in the ocean or on the beach. Another could be a science theme, where campers will participate in various science experiments and learn the scientific basis for each. Friday could be a dress like a mad scientist day. Safari theme, where campers will learn about, make crafts revolving around African animals. Games will involve matching track prints to each animal and identifying the sounds that each animal makes. Friday could be dressed like your favorite safari animal. Some of the other more fun themes could also be Fear Factor theme, where campers participate in fun, creepy activities such as balancing games and weird tactile fun. And Color Wars, where campers are placed on a color team and dressed in that color in crazy ways each day. Campers will participate in fun events with a focal focus on physical education and teamwork, such as volleyball, tug-of-war, etc.
I know I talked to Diane, and Diane has been talking with Jen, and they have come up with some ideas, and they want to do some brainstorming with some of the former camp counselors, what they think would work. So I think that this would be great for the kids. You know, I know people shy away when they hear summer camp and educational. I was a taskmaster for my children, so I didn't. I made them go to educational camps, but, you know, they had fun too. When they weren't at that week's camp, they were at the beach with my parents. So, this isn't to make your kids dislike going to camp, it's to encourage them to think and expand their minds and what they can do. And I really think that it would be great. Now, we do have, if you guys will all turn to your pages, I'm sorry you don't have that out here, but we do have the cost of camps in the area. And just so you know, Atlantic Highlands Camp is $150 a resident, $175 for a non-resident, which is from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., 6 weeks, no meals. Hazlitt is $325 for a resident, $625 for non-residents, $50 for sibling discount, 9 to 3, weather permitting, 4 weeks. Sports camp is $100 weekly, 2 hours each day. Middletown, K through 6 is $85 weekly, 8:30 to 2. Aftercare is from 2 to 4, $31 weekly, bring lunch plus trips. 3 to 6 is $85 weekly, bring lunch plus trips. 7 to 9 is $225 weekly, Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 2 p.m., bring lunch plus trips. Rumson is the summer playground at the park, $125 for 6 through 14-year-olds, 8:30 to 11:30 a.m., 4 weeks. Also have weekly camps for clinics, approximately $55 to $335. Fairhaven, various weekly camps, $100 weekly to $175, and playground camp. I mean, I can keep reading them. Then they have private camps, but we're not talking about a private camp, so I don't...
I think that it's also important, Rosemary, but to talk about the median household income, how it's changed in the Highlands in the past few years, and how they compare to some of the other towns that Rosemary just mentioned. If you want, you can touch on that. If you think it's important, but I do. I think I was very surprised to see that Highlands median household income is almost $90,000. In comparison, Atlantic Highlands is 95 and change, Hazlitt is 88 and change, Middletown is 86 and change. So when we compare the median incomes for those towns, and we compare the charges for those towns, for those camps, the camp here is, at least in the past, is extremely, extremely low.
Okay, so let's talk about the fees that we were discussing. Karen, do you see that sheet, what you submitted? Oh, no. That's not in the packet, is it? The fees that we were talking about?
It's in the ordinance, isn't it?
No, it's not in the ordinance.
No.
The current, what is current is in the ordinance.
Okay.
Thank you.
These are somebody's notes, I don't know whose.
Okay. Talking about camp running from July 8th to August 16th. Register by week, a weekly fee. Ages and grades would be 5 through 14, that would be kindergarten through 8th grade. Staff hours would be 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Camp hours for kids would be 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Possibly extended hours for an extra fee would be 1:30 to 3:30. Different staff to work that program. Possible fees discussed would be Highlands residents, $30 a week, $25 for a second or third child. Non-residents, $35 a week, $30 for a second or third child.
Wait, Rosemary, whose
What?
notes are these?
I don't know who's
It says, these are my notes from our summer
Oh, for the
program,
meeting. Wait,
meeting with Ellen
Ellen,
Williams.
right.
But whose notes are these? Are these
But
Jen's? Or Kins, or?
I don't know.
Are they?
I don't know. I think they might be Kim's meeting with Ellen. But these aren't what we, as a council, have been talking amongst ourselves. Carolyn, do you have the sheet with you, or you didn't bring it with you?
No, I didn't bring it with me.
We were talking about-
We talked about so many different things, ranging from $5 to $25.
Well, because usually we don't let you talk, but I'm going to answer that question for you. Because the percentage of families in town has decreased. So the mediums are people that live in a town that you have either singles or couples that are living that don't have children, or you have older couples that are living in town that they don't have children in the school system. Because I need Kim to talk about the grant that we get, I don't know how it's applied for, because this is the first year that I'm on the rec committee. And that's how we have to go by, the median for the town and what the state awards. It doesn't always award for free and reduced lunch. We do get money from the grant. Last year, and I think we had to pay for the food, though, for the school. That wasn't covered by the grant. Not the school,
So the food was covered by the grant?
all the students, we didn't get the full grant for the full program.
No, I thought,
No.
Not the full program.
there was,
So, the amount has been less and less every year for what's being paid for rec. So, we're not trying to make a profit on it. I can tell you that. I saw somebody commented that, corned beef costs money. I have to tell you, I put quite a bit of money out of my pocket for the Irish dinner.
so did I.
So did Linda Mazzola. So, we are not trying to make a profit at all.
Or not even coming close.
No,
Because
and
the whole
we do
program's about-
recognize that there are a lot of families, wait a second, we recognize that there are a lot of families that can't afford to pay this, and I don't have a number that would be available for scholarship, if somebody wanted a specific number, but we will make sure that those kids get to go to camp. So, nobody up here is trying to make this camp into something like Seashore Day Camp. We're trying to make it that it's something that the kids enjoy going to. Not that they haven't in the past, but just to have a little bit more for them. And I'm not going to comment on that, because I have to tell you, my kids are old, so my kids aren't going to camp. I can't tell you what's going on at camp. I don't have anybody going there. I have a son who works for a camp in Long Branch, because he's a teacher. So, we're trying to work this out, that we can pay for some of the extra things that we need to during the camp. Salaries have gone up because the,
Minimum wage.
minimum wage has
Right.
gone up.
I think
And
that's,
we're not trying to hurt anybody at all in this town. We're trying to make it that we can still run a great camp for the kids in the school. We've been talking about this and trying to work out the fees for 2 months, right? We really have been. And we're trying to get the programs down. Well, the money's going towards salaries. The money's going to go towards supplies. The money will go towards, I don't have the numbers. When Kim gets here, we'll have the numbers for the grant. I don't have the numbers here because our borough administrator has the numbers, and she should be here any minute, and we can talk about
Well,
that.
she's provided some,
Like the salary
analysis.
updates.
For salaries, it's, just about 40,000. And, for other supplies and things, it just about comes up to $50,000 to run the program.
Right.
So, even at, $300 a child, we're not even making ends meet at that. So, when we're talking, is it gonna be 35, or is it gonna be 40? We're like, so far in the hole with it. We are definitely subsidizing a large part of the program, the taxpayers, withstanding whatever the amount of the grant's gonna be.
But hang on, we're not in the hole, it's in the budget. It's
Yes, no, well, what I'm
budgeted, so
saying
we're
is
not
that the
in hole
program
for that.
itself isn't self-sustaining. It's going to be paid, a large portion of it's going to be paid through the taxpayers, which is okay. We can decide that for our resident children, we'll subsidize some amount of the program. I'm sorry?
Did she make more money?
Well, at $35, if we had full attendance at about 100 children, that's only $3,500 compared to the cost of 50,000. We're like,
But we can't have more than 100 children
Yeah.
because this building only fits 120. And it's a 10-to-1 ratio for counselor to kid. Exactly. Exactly.
if we're
And I want your daughter to go through it too.
if we're going to have a large subsidy, basically, I mean, saying that the taxpayers are going to pay a large chunk of this, then I don't want to subsidize any out-of-towners. If the out-of-towner is coming here because we have some open enrollment left over. I'm sorry? Yeah, yes, but are we going to raise it to $300? Yes, we could, because some others are doing that. Some are $600. But I'm not strictly opposed to that, but when someone looks at a resident pays $300 and the out-of-towner pays $35 to $300, might raise some questions. I'd entertain any of that, for sure. But the resident kids, need to have it down, and we need to subsidize them to some degree. It used to be free, yes, it was 100%
It was
subsidized.
100% subsidized for all of
But the
those
costs
years
are getting so high,
until we changed this in 2017.
Just a quick math that I did here from the data that we were just provided. It's about 50,000, but not included whatever the grant is. We don't know what the grant is right now, but it's not that much.
Correct.
Something less, but we don't
Don't know what that
how
number
much.
is until Kim gets here with the grant.
Because of our median salaries are higher than used to be, the grant is going to be less. Because that's how they calculate the grants. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. I'm not arguing that at all. But I want to make sure that if we're subsidizing the children to go here, that it's just our resident children. I don't want to subsidize out-of-towner at all, because they're not paying taxes yet.
All right, you know what?
We're gonna have to
We're gonna have to continue
another-
this because we have two other things to do through, our meeting. Yeah. Yeah, 5 to 14. Okay, now we will do do you want to wait for Kim and Ricky to get here? I'm assuming you're from the Monmouth County Mitigation Plan? Okay. Clinton.
Thank you. I apologize for being late. I had to reopen the button.
Thank you. I'm technically challenged. I went to two meetings in the last month. One was, Councilman Broswell was there as well. We went to Main Street, USA, and found out more about the grants. We found out more about Esri reports. We found out, a lot of things that are still available. And although the money is getting harder and harder to get, they did compliment and say how Highlands, does a fantastic job in getting whatever is available. And I'm sure we're going to continue doing that. Last night I attended the Monmouth County Tourism meeting, and that was very, very productive. It was very productive in the fact that I sat with all of the Bay Shore group, and we were very, very vocal about the amount of money and energy that's actually done by the state, by Monmouth County in this direction. And we've actually created a group called Bay Shore 2020. And what we're going to be doing is we are going to be, the Bayshore communities are going to get together, and somehow or other, we're going to share, we won't get a lot done this year because the season's already starting, but definitely going forward, where we're going to share information with each other. So if we're running movies and somebody else is running movies, we're not running the same movies, or we're not running it the same night, but be a lot more of a coordinated effort in the Bayshore to get people to come here on day trips, that no matter where they go, we'd sort of be sharing the people coming into the area, number one. Number two, we're trying to get more signage and things, and I'm trying to work on, even the signage now for the county beach and the park. It's very, very difficult if you don't know the area. You're on that sign and then you have to turn. The Freehold owner is going to come up and take a ride with me, and maybe somebody from the transportation department, and see about changing some of the signage, making more of the signage available. And I apologize because I'm the newcomer on the block, but trying to know the streets and turns to get up to that park is really, really difficult. And I don't know what the restrictions are, so, I'm sure there are restrictions, but my point is we're going to try and get a much better job and push that a little bit further. As we know, the car show's coming up. I don't know all the details of the car show because it keeps changing, and I apologize. I'm the messenger. I sent it out, but I apologize. I apologize to the chief when he's talking to me today. I don't know the streets. So I'm sort of like the communicator, but I don't really know much about that. And like I said, there were emails going back and forth. On the Facebook side, we've picked up 90 more likes, I believe, on the Facebook page in the last month or so. I don't know the exact number, but that's roughly what the number is when it comes up. So we're getting a lot more interaction on the Facebook. We're trying to change Instagram a little bit. I know that's a different audience, but you're going to see some changes on that. Park Fest, which is the next big event that's coming up. What we did in Park Fest is we actually created a separate page, if you will, for each one of the parks, and the reason behind that was because each one is considered a different venue, number one. Number two, what we wanted to do is we wanted to focus more on the talent that was going to be there as well, so the talent could tag themselves at that venue, share it with their people. And again, our goal is to get as many people to come into our social media sphere as we possibly can, and that was just one way of doing that. Kim had asked me to work on the beautification program. I just started on that, but I'm looking into what other municipalities have done across the country and sort of coming up with something that would be, whether it's adopt a park, adopt a street, adopt a corner, or something like that, but definitely a beautification thing that can be done. I have 2 meetings that I'm setting up with 2 developers, and it was a little bit premature because first I had to get a list of all the vacant properties. I got that today, and I'll share that with you. But there's 191 vacant properties in Highlands, but we don't know what the assemblage is. So before I actually start talking to developers and get a little bit more educated, and I appreciate your input and support in that as well, we'll be able to go out there and get people to come in and take a look at some development here. Epic X Pretend is a company, and what they want to do is they want to do some sort of tour, and they want to use Highlands as one of the towns, so maybe Huddy Park and stuff like that, and it's going to be a group type thing where they buy it, and they're going to start in Ocean Grove, and they're going to work their way around. I don't know all of those details. It just happened today, and I'll fill you in on that as that progresses. But I hope to meet with Mr. Lobella next week on that. Tomorrow morning, Kim and I are meeting with one of the media companies that's going to come in. They own a bunch of radio stations. I'm sure they've been here before. But the comment is, and the reason that I want to meet with them is because she said she was in Middletown and she didn't know anything about Highlands and free beaches. So here's somebody right here in our backyard that doesn't know that stuff. And my point is, I live 10 miles away, and I had no idea all this is here. And I'm going south when I should be coming, I guess this is east, from Hazlet. But to pick her brain and find out more about that, and see if we could piggyback on some of their things. And again, I know they must have been here with the HBP over the years or whatever, but I want to pick her brain and find out exactly what people know and don't know, and see if we can take that knowledge and partner with her. And that's all I have. And I'd like to thank you, now that Kim's here, I'd like to thank the administration and the council for the sympathy card that you sent me when my wife had passed. Thank you.
I'd like to add a couple of things, because we're on the subject. At the Main Street meeting, the speaker there, which I cannot remember his name, but he was a PhD in the area of national economic development, and had a really good presentation. And they said they were going to send it to us. We haven't received it yet.
No.
But one of the things he was pointing out is that the nature of retail is changing, which no one is shocked at that idea, because, you know, you buy things online now. So what's happening to retail, which is going to affect Highlands greatly, because we're trying to get the business district back up and running better than it did 50 years ago. Since people aren't shopping in retail stores like they used to, they're ordering things, these people still want to go out and do things, so they shop for the experience, not just to pick up things that they need. So what municipalities have to do in their business districts are make their business districts, what I'm trying to say, have an experience. You go there for the experience, for the ambiance, and not just to go get what you need and go home. So you want to spend a little time there, and that's something that actually is going to dovetail into our form-based code. That's exactly what that does. We're trying to get that off the ground. Something else they said is trending, and it's not something that us as a municipality have to be super conscious of, but it's an interesting idea. A lot of retailers are also what they call makers. They don't want to call it manufacturing because that conjures up ideas of assembly lines and car factories, but a lot of retailers are now starting in the back of their shop make the things that they sell in the front of their shop. So people go there because that's the only place you can go to get what they have. So it becomes a destination, and people go there to watch the thing that they're getting ready to buy being made. I'm sorry? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm done. I just, yeah.
Don't make you do that, it's just...
That's fine. That's one of your presidents.
That's it?
That's one of your presidents.
So moving on. Okay, we're now moving on to the Monmouth County Mitigation Planning Committee. Come on up.
Thanks so much for the time, and I apologize, we were...
Are you Mike Baker?
I'm Craig Wenger. I'm with Michael Baker. So Michael Baker's an engineering and planning, basically an architecture engineering planning firm. We were hired by Monmouth County to do the hazard mitigation plan update. So hazard mitigation planning is a requirement by FEMA, and we have to, every county in the state has a hazard mitigation plan. They have to update it every 5 years in order to be eligible for FEMA disaster funds through the Stafford Act. So this is a federal requirement that the county complete. Part of that process is that we meet with every municipality within the county. So 5 years ago, the first Monmouth County plan was done, and now we're going through the update process. So for the last hour and a half or so, we were just meeting with the mayor, the administrator, the fire chief, the police chief, the engineer, DPW, about the priorities within the town when it comes to natural hazards, largely flooding. And this plan for the entire county will document different risks that exist within the county from different hazards. So flooding, we talked about the erosion problems throughout town along the steep slopes. And then we also identify areas where mitigation can be done. So the town gave us a large list of projects and ideas for projects. And then those projects can be, if they're in this plan, then they can be submitted to FEMA and the state for funding to hopefully help offset costs for those projects. One thing to note is that nationally, FEMA has changed their approach to mitigation to put more of an emphasis on pre-disaster mitigation. So the funds available before a disaster happens are increasing. The state of New Jersey gets in the top 5 as far as funds from FEMA due to the flood insurance claims that we have as a state. So the pre-disaster funding is also going to go up incrementally. So it's very important that the town participates, which they have. There'll be some back and forth. The planning process we'll have a draft plan by the end of the summer, beginning of the fall period, and then it'll go around for reviews. It gets submitted to the state, and then ultimately to FEMA Region 2, and then by the beginning of next year, we hopefully have an approved plan that you'll be able to adopt. And then you'll be fully compliant with the Stafford Act, and, God forbid a disaster happens, you'll be able to take advantage of emergency funding. That's anything? Thank you so much for the time.
Do you have a timeline on when your report will be ready that we could see?
So actually, the meeting minutes from today, we're going to submit those back to the town for the town to add any comments, to add mitigation actions, add capabilities, add things that kind of the wish list of things that the town wants, and then they'll send us back. You are the fourth town to have this meeting, so we're kind of at the beginning phases of the project. And then by the end of by basically fall period, you'll be able to see the entire county plan.
So when would you be sending us the initial minutes? I'm just trying to get a timeline going.
Oh, it won't be more than a week or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a few weeks to work on stuff amongst ourselves and get that back to you.
As much time as you need.
Okay.
I know there's a large, obviously the town has a, flood risk, and there's a lot of elements to go through. So you'll have, as much time as you need. Then we'll also have, follow-up conversations where, if anything's unclear or if we want to add anything, we'll have that opportunity.
So when does the county expect to enact any of its plans?
So the county likes to submit it at the end of this year, and then FEMA will approve, in the end of the following, or beginning of the following year. As far as like mitigation processes, it's constantly happening. So the state has different disaster declarations, provide different funding. Really, this process lines up projects. So once we go through this process, we'll hopefully have some projects that, if we can justify with a cost-benefit analysis, is what FEMA does to show the value. And there's a bit of competition, I guess, when the state gets a number of projects to submit to FEMA. But I will say that the state has a large priority in elevating and mitigating the repetitive loss structures, and that's something that you guys are familiar with.
Thank you.
No problem. Yep. Thank you for your time.
Just before we go into exec, Kim, do you know what the amount of the grant is that we would get for the rec this year?
For the food.
We were just getting the money for the food this
That's
year?
what we do now.
Okay.
And we're just being for the food that we applied for. So we go by last year's enrollment number, and that's how you get the number. We're going to take about $12,000 in food costs.
So on this chart that you have here, there's a line that says summer food, 3,200.
That's the cost of food for the people services.
Oh, okay, I didn't, but, yeah, well, everything else on here was salaries, but it just said summer food, I didn't know what, okay.
Some food help.
So that's not the cost of the
That's
food, that's
seasonal
what the
worker.
cost is. So that's an additional cost to the salary numbers? Because I don't understand how it works. So we might get 12,000.
Yeah, we would get these covered, but we didn't have food that we supported.
But nothing else is covered.
Nothing else.
But nothing else was ever covered by any other grant. It was just the food grant.
It's the tax revenue funding. The amount of money that comes in, and we touched on it, is the deposit for the application for the CAMCO, that will pay for events. The trips to the children's days are also not included in the tuition. Those trips run anywhere between $15 and $35 for each trip, and usually they run out of stock. meaning that most of the shows, if there's 20 spots for a bus to go on that trip, 20 will be filled. Anything else that you want to know about something?
I think it's 7:12, we're already behind.
We might have to talk about it
Yeah,
after.
I was gonna say, we might have to talk about it after,
Okay.
another business.
I'm just looking about the packet that really is conference, everything.
I did.
Set up, I asked one of the first one, we sent the web and we did surveys of parents and children and counselors to come up with that stronger program this year.
Question.
I can take a question, or, I mean, doesn't have to be on record.
Wait, are we going to come back?
We're gonna come back and
We'll come
talk
back
about
to
it. Yeah, because...
The further we get behind here, the further we're gonna get behind in the regular meeting.
Executive session resolution. Whereas the Open Public Meeting Act, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231 permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances. And whereas the public body is in the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, and whereas the governing body wishes to discuss attorney-client privilege, form-based closed residential tax abatement, litigation Hilltop of the Highlands, contract negotiations, Thompson. Minutes will be kept, and once the matter involving the confidentiality of the above no longer requires that confidentiality, the minutes will be made public. Now therefore be resolved that the mayor and council go into executive session to discuss the above items, and the public is excluded from this meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Councilmember Broswell?
Yes.
Councilmember Breon? Yes. Councilmember Mazzola? Councilmember Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor O'Neill? The executive session resolution has been properly approved. The council is going into executive session at 7:13 p.m. At 2:31, notice is hereby given that this is a regular meeting of the Borough of Highlands, Mayor and Council, and all requirements have been met. Notice has been transmitted to the Asbury Park Press and the Two River Times. Notice has been posted on the public bulletin board. Formal action will be taken. Time may be allowed for public comment at this meeting. Each speaker may be allowed a limited time when recognized by the presiding officer. Individuals wishing to address the council shall be recognized by the presiding officer and shall give their name, address, and group, if any, they represent. Although the council encourages public participation and reserves the right to its presiding officer to terminate remarks and/or by any individual not in keeping with the conduct of a proper and efficient meeting. The council will not, during this portion of the meeting, discuss matters involving employment, appointment, termination of employment, negotiations, terms and conditions of employment, evaluation of the performance of, promotion, or discipline of any specific, prospective, or current employee. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah, how about you come up and read that pledge of allegiance? This is Jack Serpico, he's our land use board attorney or planning board attorney for 18 years. Right. When we had the conflict with the rehab center, Jack Serpico was going to be longer than he was going to be in the business, so he graciously stepped down. To God, yeah. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Roll call. Councilmember Broswell.
Here.
Councilmember Breon. Here. Councilmember Mazzola. Here. Councilmember Ryan. Here. Mayor O'Neill.
Here.
Presentation, Jack Servipro, Esquire, Land Use Board Attorney, 2000 to 2018.
Good evening.
Jack was our land use attorney for planning board attorney for 18 years. He was solid advice all the time, impartial, and trying to bend the board's will to any place forward that. True guy, true man. Special thanks to the education service, Thank you very much. That'll be my country. And also with the planning board, that's very far. Yeah, for the revitalization of what's going on down there. Been zoning board attorney since '95, and they worked in the planning board attorney in 2000, so we were water company investor. I was, Long Branch planning board attorney from '80 to '90, when and I've started practicing law in Long Branch in 20 years. Hey, one last time, trying to claim Thank you. Thank you, sir. I don't know if we've ever met, but thank you. I don't think in 18 years he ever raised his fees. No, he's not. No, you don't get them like that. Thank you, Jeff.
Consent agenda. Resolution 19-130, approve payment of the bills. Resolution 19-131, authorize refund of tax overpayment. Resolution 19-132, approve request for waiver of alcohol ban for the community center. Resolution 19-133, refund of recreation fees. Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
Councilmember Broswell?
Yes.
Councilmember Breon?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor O'Neill? The consent agenda has been properly approved. Resolution 19-134, authorize award of non-fair and open contract with CME for improvements to Cornwell Street and John Street.
So
Do I
moved.
have motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Councilmember Roswell?
Yes.
Councilmember Breon?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor O'Neill?
Yes, this is for a drainage project on the one wall, and our engineer is going to lay it out, and it includes from the John Street and Triangle down there. CME and Doug had helped us get $225,000 to start this project. So that's what that's all about.
Resolution 19-134 has been properly approved. Resolution 19-136, authorize termination of shared service for local public health services of Monmouth County Regional Health Commission Number 1. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Broswell?
Yes.
Councilmember Breon?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor O'Neill?
Yes.
Resolution 19-136 has been properly approved. Resolution 19-137, authorize purchase of a demo live scan system. Do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Broswell?
Yes.
Councilmember Breon?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor O'Neill?
Yes.
Resolution 19-137 has been properly approved. Resolution 19-138, adopt HPP budget for 2019. Will you open the meeting to the public?
Meeting to the public.
Anyone wishing to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Kim Skorka, Shore Drive. I apologize in advance if I seem to have a tone in my voice, but I'm kind of exasperated by this waste of time and money. I don't understand why you're entertaining a revote to give money to a district management corporation that continued to deny numerous over-requests last year. They still go unanswered. They paid legal fees to fight these requests. The money they requested from myself and others was way less than those legal fees they paid to fight those over-requests. Clearly, they're not fiscally focused, and this money will be squandered. I don't understand why a revote was even called. It was evident on March 20th that Councilwoman Breon brought this forward. She voted no because she felt the HVP should receive the full budget they requested, $73,000, and then was shocked when the $54,750 didn't pass. The budget up for adoption hasn't changed, and it's still $54,750, so I anticipate another no vote from Councilwoman Breon. I also hope Mayor O'Neill will change his vote to no. We have heard on numerous occasions that he wants to run this borough more like a corporation. In the corporate world, there's accountability. I have provided you with an analysis that shows the HBP needs approximately $31,000 to operate for the first 9 months of 2019. No one has followed up with any questions, counter-arguments, and nobody has their own analysis to show something different. Given the apparent validity of my analysis and the tax rate that was struck in 2018, the borough will be billing and collecting on behalf of the business partnership $17,500 per quarter in August 2018, November 2018, February, and May of this year. The bid did receive their funds in 2018, just to be clear. The remaining $35,000 that will be billed in 2019 is more than enough to cover operations through September. The HBT is a 501c3. I'd like to remind everyone that they can collect tax-deductible donations from anyone, and there is nothing stopping them from asking for outside support. They had a packed house here on March 20th. Clearly, they have support, and perhaps those people would like to show it with their dollars. And can you give me and the business taxpayers any justification why you're choosing to ignore the facts and figures I have produced and granting the HBP an overage that they have failed to justify?
Anybody else? On this subject, Ms. Mill? Just on this subject? Just on this subject?
Just on the subject of HBP.
No.
It's a hearing just for this one right now, but you can talk later.
No, it's fine.
No need to apologize.
Anyone else on this?
Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 19-138?
I'll offer it.
Okay. Councilman Broswell?
Same.
Councilman Breon?
Yes.
Councilman Mazzola?
No.
Councilman Bryan?
Yes.
Mayor O'Neill?
Yes.
Resolution 19-138 has been properly approved. Ordinances, second reading and public hearing. Ordinance 1909 requiring citizens to be in good standing to serve on borough committee. When you open the meeting to the public. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1909?
I'll make it.
I'll second.
Councilmember Broswell?
Yes.
Councilman Breon?
Yes.
Councilman Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilman Bryan?
Yes.
Mayor O'Neill? Ordinance 1909 has been properly adopted. Ordinance 1910, telecommunications licensing provisions for facilities and right-of-way. When you open the meeting to the public.
Anybody have any comments on this request? Would you like to speak a little bit for a minute about what this is about?
There was a report in water issued by the FCC on or about September of last year concerning small wireless facilities. It provides criteria for limited municipal review of wireless facilities when they're placed in the right-of-way. This ordinance does focus on the regulations and the small wireless facilities. Without the ordinance, the borough would have no guidance for that limited review of the applications, and it's essentially consistent with what the report and order by the FCC was.
Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1910?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Councilman Broswell?
Yes.
Councilman Breon?
Yes.
Councilman Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilman Bryan?
Yes.
Mayor O'Neill?
Yes.
Ordinance 1910 has been properly adopted. Other business, administrator's report.
Good evening. Tonight during the workshop, the Monmouth County mitigation meeting had taken place here to give some information from Michael Baker Firm. They are hired through Monmouth County to come up with the mitigation plan that's due to follow the Stafford Act that is regulated by FEMA. This will then help the borough with any disasters that might come up in the future with getting funding from FEMA and NJOEM. With relation to this study, they are also taking into consideration the NJ framework documentation and the Bayshore Coastal Resiliency Notes that they are compiling for the meetings that I attend on a bi-monthly basis. This is to prevent flooding. This is where we will qualify for flood money from FEMA prior to any event. FEMA feels as though it's 6 times its worth to prevent flooding than to just go ahead and act when the disaster happens. They are going to take in consideration our slopes, our hills, our water issues, the bay water, and the rainwater that comes into the town when on a rain event. So this is quite exciting for the town to keep up with the mitigation needs of the borough. The Monmouth County Health Department used the resolution passed tonight to enter into an agreement with Monmouth County to do our health services. This is going to be a substantial savings to the taxpayer in the next coming budget year with no loss of services at all to the borough taxpayer. I had a meeting with iBank and the DEP in regards to the Water Witch sanitary program that we are applying for, and they did give us acknowledgement that they will give us $2.5 million at no interest to begin the project, and we are the only town in the state of New Jersey who is qualified for this program. So that's quite exciting news, and what that program does is that will help us repair, replace our sanitary and storm drainage, going from about Washington, Huddy Avenue, all the way to the end of town over, is it Ocean? Ocean. That's a huge project that to be accepted into. And then Valley Street program, that drainage program will be complete for June. I know that going over there on a daily basis, you guys are dealing with a lot with the road work there, but the improvement should show. I don't know if everyone has seen the new storm basins put in. They started the curbing, and they will be setting new utility poles as well in this coming week. Veterans Park Electric is complete. The only thing that we're waiting to happen, which will be about May 7th or May 8th, is to have New Jersey JCP&L switch the power over to the actual poles, and Vets Park will now have electric. And remember that that will also go towards FEMA mitigation funding, since we did raise the electric in the park. So we will get 90% of that money back that we spent on that project. All the other programs that we have going on in town, you'll see that New Jersey Natural Gas is doing quite a lot of work, and with our new ordinance that we put into effect, and with our new DPW superintendent, they have agreed to pave curb to curb on the road. So you'll see up Windmore to New Street, they're going to be paving that entire area, and the borough is going to then be paving from Riper to Windmore Complex. That'll happen in the next probably 6 weeks. Chestnut, Grand Tour, and Upper Portland will also be done as well. That's about it. When it comes to project reports at this time, we have Park Fest coming up on May the 18th, which is quite an exciting event. I'm really excited. The Arts Council is going to be part of that event. There will be yoga and fitness in Huddy Park at no cost to people if they show. There will be music. There will be music over at Cornwall to do chess games, cornhole, and checkers with music. And in Veterans Park, there will also be a concert. And donations were made to cover the cost of the concert, and the Telegraph Hill Records has been promoting the event. They are out of Asbury Park. So I think that's about it for myself tonight, and then if Recreation has any additional.
Garage sale, Townwide Garage Sale is Saturday, and the car show is
May 10th, and the streets are actually being determined now. That's not in stone as of yet.
If you want to register for the garage sale, $5 for a ball.
I think it's closed.
I think it closed today.
They gave me the list for the map.
That's right, it closed today.
If you do it
Still
now,
register, just
you're not
not
gonna
the other
be
map.
Right.
I'd just like to say that, Mr. Gonzalez and Mr. Romar and CME did a good job to give that money to that IBAN. And in short notice, we put a lot of pressure in, made a lot of decisions, and things are gonna work out. It's gonna be a big improvement for this end of the town. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
All in our underwear.
We're just your neighbors.
Good evening. My name is Karen Neal. My late husband and I reside at 238 Bay Avenue, Highlands, obviously. We also, the rear of the house, our property borders on Holly Street, which is my concern tonight. I've heard repeatedly that they're attempting to open the road, which has been a paper road as long as we are in the borough, which is over 30 years. And I'm also hearing they're going to pave it, and I don't know what else. And my concern is what's going on. I have no answers, and I'm just really concerned.
I told you the other day, we surveyed it to see where...
I'm sorry, Rick, I can't hear you.
I told you the other day, when you called me, that we surveyed it to see where our property boundaries were.
Yeah, but why all of a sudden? It's been going on forever. What's going on? And there must be some kind of an urgency and a reason that all of a
There's
sudden...
no urgency, no, there's not an urgency there. We surveyed it because some of the houses were torn down, because there was a change in ownership before the old Cohen's Market came down, to see where our property was. Will it be improved? Maybe, I don't know right now. But I'm just...
I just don't understand why something that has been just laying idle all these years. Now we have property next to it, big signs, for sale sign, and then a lot of activity there, and all of a sudden, it's, people can't park there, and I have no problem with parking, but people on 4th and 5th are scurrying about trying to park now.
The parking situation, I think, was driven by a property owner and not by the borough.
All of a sudden, there are no parking signs on Cedar, and as I said, that does
Correct.
not affect me, but...
Where did that come from?
What happened was the cars were parking in the wrong direction, and this is coming from our public safety department, from our police chief, and we had to take the initiative to make sure and ensure that people can get in and out of the streets in the right manner.
It's one way going out, and they were parking that way towards Bay Avenue.
There was parking on someone's property as well, perpendicular.
Well, maybe he needs to maintain that property also. It's horrendous. But that's not my concern. My concern really is what's going on behind me. My tenant...
On Holly.
Pardon me?
On Holly.
On Holly, yeah, because I'm told that I cannot park there. I've always parked there if there was a chance of high flooding or, water, hurricanes, what have you. And I was advised that I shouldn't really park there anymore because they're going to be paving it. And I've heard that from more than one person.
We'll put out signs.
We've always parked back there. Our resident upstairs, and we bought a two-family house legitimately, it was legal. And our tenants always park there. When my husband passed, the tenant has the ability to park in the front of Bay Avenue now with our driveway. But that's always been adjacent to our property, and we utilize it when need be. And I'm advised, no, don't do that because we're going to pave it. And I've heard it from more than one person.
And it might be paved, and I don't see what your problem would be with it.
What is the need? What is the need, and where's the funding coming from?
I don't know what the need is. We surveyed a piece of property that the town owns to see where we're at.
I understand that, but Rick, it's been dormant forever.
The building that was there, did have a rear, entrance for a drop-off zone.
For whom?
The building that was there.
Cohen's old.
No. That has never been open. Cohen's never, ever, they never...
Well, it's on the survey, so we have to make sure
Cohen's
that
never put that fence or the gate up. Pete and Harry put that fence and
They
gate
might
up.
have, but I remember when I was young that you could go from Cedar Street to Bay Avenue through that property.
It wasn't fenced off, it was open.
I didn't fence it off.
When Pete and Harry bought that, early 90s, they put the fence up in the gate, and it was never utilized.
Okay. So, what is your question? What is the problem?
My concern is why all of a sudden are we paving it, and who's gonna benefit?
There's no commitment to paving.
We don't have a date for paving.
It's been surveyed to see where the borough owns. That's what it is. It's been surveyed.
I just find
And I
it,
believe there's encroachments on it now, as there is. Piece of property, we wanted to know where it was. The parking, that didn't come from this table.
And I think that we would agree as a whole that we are just trying to make things right throughout the town, areas that we are,
Nothing to be alarmed
that might
about.
need correction or
I told you that the other
addressing.
day.
Well, I am along that I can't park there if I need be. I mean, it borders on my property. I've always had the ability to park there.
I don't know
Yeah.
if there is or not.
On Holly.
I don't know if there is or not. But I'm telling you, the police department drove that situation of no parking here, not this table.
But I am told by more than one that I should not park there because it's going to be paid. And my
It's not
position,
going to be paid, Karen, you will know if it was going to be paid. There's no commitment to pave that road right now.
but why am I told that I can't park there?
You have to go and see the chief tomorrow, and ask him why.
The chief didn't tell me.
I don't know what to tell you.
Who did tell you?
A lot of other people.
But who are these other people?
You gotta go see the chief. The police enforced that. That wasn't from this table, Ms. Mills. It wasn't from this table that was brought up.
Is there a no parking sign where you want to park?
No.
Well, I would go by the signs. If there's no sign, then I would say you can park
Verbally,
there.
I was told.
Well, if it was a town official, is it someone who's supposed to know?
I'd rather not say.
Okay.
I don't know. Right now, there's no commitment to pave that road from anywhere.
Whether
Do
they
you have
pay
my
it...
card? Why don't we go look at the spot tomorrow?
Are you afraid if you park there that something...
No, I just don't, if I'm advised that I shouldn't, I'm just concerned, why, all of a sudden?
The only people that can advise you are town officials and the police department.
Let me check that down. I'll meet you. We've spoken on the phone.
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah, we'll meet, yeah.
Thank you, Kim, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Crooker, sit down.
No.
You have the floor.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Monroe, 304 Highway 36. I just wanted to know what was going on with the Recreation Department, and if we were actually being charged for it this year, like, what is going on with the whole program of being charged for it?
You mean the fees for the summer?
Yeah, the
We were
fees for the
talking
summer
about that
program.
earlier, and we're going to readdress that.
You're gonna readjust
Yeah.
it? Okay, thank you.
Kim Skorka Shore Drive. I know there's some gray area about what the woman just spoke with about paving Holly Street, but we really have other roads that need to be fixed. I don't even know if that's on the table, but I think paving that paper road should not be a priority.
Didn't I just tell her that it wasn't a priority? It was a survey to see where the town's property was.
I have a question, since you've awarded the $57,000 plus to the business partnership. What happens in September 30th if they're not renewed and they have excess funds? Is that refunded back to the business owners that paid the tax? So even though I raised the question that they were going to be overfunded, nobody bothered to find out the answer. I appreciate you adopting ordinance 19-09. I've heard that the land use board is not included, and I would like to see them added, as well as any other board or group or that's not part of that.
Excuse me, Ms. Parker?
What's the statutory appointments that are not included intentionally?
I'm not finished with my comments, thank you. I understand that they're mayoral appointments, but I can't fathom why it's a good idea to have someone that can't pay their tax and sewer bills sit on a committee that's making decisions for the very entity to which they owe money. Those that owe back taxes and/or sewer fees clearly don't put Highlands as a priority in their finances. It gives the appearance that they don't have a vested interest in the borough, and as a tax-paying resident, I feel that they should not be rewarded with such a powerful board position, such as the land use board. It also leads to the potential that they might be open to bribes. If you're in a financial hardship, you might be swayed to vote a certain way, and I don't think it looks good. And I just would like to know, it was discussed a few meetings ago, the possibility of changing the permit parking on Shore Drive, and I would like the council to reconsider it. Summer is coming, we're going to have increased C Street ridership, and there's easily 40 to 50 parking spots on Shore Drive that can be utilized. When that permit parking was adopted in, I think it was December of 2017, it wasn't that impactful. But last year, with the summer increased ridership, and with Scuba and the Beast opening, the parking on Shore Drive from Marie Street past Central Avenue is very tight. Those residents in the Hillside Village condos, yes, we have driveways. Not every driveway can fit 2 cars, and some unit owners actually have 3 cars. They would like that parking on the street to be able to jockey their cars around and have a place to put other cars. And with the increased ridership, it becomes very difficult in the summer. So I'd appreciate it if you'd find some way to open up that parking. I understand the visibility issues, so maybe if we can block off 1 space on either side of those driveways, but just to open up more of that parking would be very helpful. Thank you.
Hi, Patty Catalano, 2 Private Road. I'm here because you're discussing placement of the porta-john on Miller Beach. In the past, it was off on the left side of the gazebo, and that was a serious problem, and 6 years ago, people came and we discussed it, and it was decided to be put on the street side. And being put on the street side, really, it had more control, and for 6 years, there hasn't been a problem. So I'm requesting that it stays on the street side. When it was on the other side, a lot of drugs, sex, problems, tipping over, it was an issue. So residents along the beach side are requesting, so it's not under our bedroom window, we're taxpayers, and we're asking it to stay on the side it is, and then it would help to be ADA compliant, and it would be a win-win, because the parking's going over handicapped. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anything further to discuss?
You know what, just to speak to Patty's comment, I'm going to take myself out of the conversation because I live right there in front of Miller Beach, and no matter where this thing is placed, I can see it from every one of my windows that face the bay. So, I'm just going to take myself out of this equation. But I would like to poll my other members of the council here at the table to see if we can comply with this resident request. The other resident that also requested it not be placed there is an elderly woman and is probably asleep right now. So she did ask me to convey that to the council.
After the meeting with Monmouth County, we discussed it, Mr. Gonzalez and I, with the engineer, who gave her a plan on which might work.
There's 2 options. One would be to put it where one of the main corner. The other would be to put it on the other side, on the street side of the gazebo. We would then do an 18-foot cement slab for ADA parking. Then creating a walkway, sidewalk walkway to the gazebo.
I like that idea.
That sounds like a good idea.
We will take away half of the parking spots on the other side of the lot, the turn that we will have to make, and have all passed down here. And then if that other handicap spot stays there, disabled parking, it also will leave 18 feet and it's cement spot.
And it will be locked at night.
That would always,
Yeah, right. So I'm just reiterating that. The porta potty. I don't think you can lock that lot.
It's been tried.
And what we need is a cost estimate on what it would take to do.
I mean, these were literally just given to us at the, so those are the choices and it's cost on board.
I would prefer to see it on the street side.
Yeah, I'm favorable to that.
Linda, you have a...
No, I wanted to explain to the people a little bit what's been happening, why this is an issue. Some people might say, well, we don't even need a porta-john there, and none of that is true, okay? If we want to have a beach where you can actually swim, a bathing beach, you have to have a porta-john, and it always has to be ADA compliant, okay? So that's kind of the predicament that we're in. I'm sorry I've never spoken to you before, and I know that there's been some issue with this. but it's a requirement, and obviously, this is we're blessed with beaches, so we want everybody to enjoy them. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just before we adjourn, if we're going to move on from this, we really need to finish up on the rec fees. So, we talked about this earlier, and we said we would carry over to the later portion of it. Did I speak on the rec fees?
Hi, my name is Giovanna Castillo. I live in South Linden.
Wait, you have to say that again a little slower? Yes, public portion is open.
My name is Giovanna Castillo. I live in 110 South Linden Avenue. And I would request if they can put a light in my street because it's so dark and we have so much animals around, raccoons, cats, and it's very dangerous. I have a little child, and people walk around in the dark, and it's very hard to see.
What street, I'm sorry?
One in South
She's
Linden
gonna give you her
Avenue.
card, so that
One
she can...
South Linden
Yeah,
Avenue?
yeah.
Yes, please. Thank
Call
you.
her, she'll talk about that with you tomorrow, okay?
You got some discussion,
The rec fees? Yeah. So, Kim, would you like to weigh in on this? You know, you joined the...
I was not here to know what you have going on.
We talked about the fact that we were, not getting the grant that we used to get for the rec, and that you said earlier that it's really only the food that we get it for, which comes to about $12,000.
Yeah, I just want to address everything, and maybe as a whole, because I know on Facebook, things seem to be blowing up, and I just want to clarify some things. When I came in as the administrator, I was asked as one of the tasks, the first task that I was given, to recreate the recreation camp in the summer, to give it some structure, to help children with transitioning, to continue their learning process, and that their brains continue to function. Do that in a fun learning environment. That is the change for the recreation program that my goal has been, and it will continue to be. I am a parent of 5 children. I know what it's like for children to stop school in June, begin in September, and there is a lot of knowledge that is lost if you don't keep these brains active, first off. And I also know what it's like to pay for summer camp as well, being a single mom, working 3 jobs when my kids were younger. I get it. But I just want everyone to know that I can see every side of this issue. And my job is to ensure that I just give the direction to the council so that they have the knowledge that they need to make the best decision possible. The proposed themes for the camps, we have come up with a week-by-week themed program. The problem that we had is that when you have 100 children that are signing up for a program, they are not showing for that entire time period. And I'm not sure the exact reason why, but sometimes I feel as though if you have a little bit for the game, if you put a little bit into it, you have a little bit more to lose as well. So I don't think a tuition is always a terrible thing, and that's why we also will continue with a scholarship for people that need it. It's by no way trying to exclude anybody from any program. Like I said, the children are important to this town, and their functioning and their well-being is quite important. We take everything into consideration. That being said, food was wasted last year because we had children that would come half the week, maybe they wouldn't show for a week or 2. There was no way to tell. If we go to a week-by-week registration, we can then at least have the numbers that we have an idea, a solid, good idea of who is going to show that week, what food is needed, how many counselors are needed. The salary alone costs $45,000 for the employees, for the counselors, for the summer program. So I just want you to take that into perspective, that we would have employees here that really did not have the amount of children to find those
Right, in other words,
employees.
you're saying that it helps you with the staffing needs.
That's right.
If we have 20 children that are signed up for 1 week, we don't need
Right,
an
I only need
enormous
three
amount of
counselors.
counselors.
Right, I need 3 counselors,
I was gonna say.
not 12.
Right.
So, there's accountability. I think that's the biggest thing. It's accountability. It's accountability for the borough. It's accountability for the parents. It's accountability for the department heads that need to run this program. So I know that one thing was saying that there was not a plan for the camp. So far, there is a theme for each week. I'm not gonna go over each theme week, but...
It was on a...
We went through
You
that.
did, okay. Now, there's another thing that everyone, I really think that we need to take into consideration. The minimum wage has now it's going to increase as of June. So I did give you a table of the different employees that were getting paid under the minimum wage that will be set in effect for June. So we have an increase there. That's a cost to the borough that we will definitely have come June. I kept all the other costs the same. So the cost alone, including the 1 sick day that each part-time counselor is probably going to be entitled to by the end of the camp, we're coming to...
Can I explain that a little
You can
bit?
explain that, sure.
Okay, so pursuant, New Jersey has recently, it was October of 2018, they passed a law that stated that all employees, whether you're hourly, part-time, or whatnot, you will earn 1 hour of paid sick leave for every 30 hours that you work. So I don't foresee, or we don't foresee these counselors taking off a day. What will probably happen is, at the end of the season, because it's a very short time period, the borough will have to pay them for that sick day. So that is also adding to the cost.
Right, so right at that point, that's $40,000 from the get-go to have counselors at the program, including that 1 sick day. That, if the numbers stay the same, but maybe that will be less if we know the enrollment. We will then be able to staff it as needed. The other expenses for the program run about $5,000. That's out of the O&E tax revenue fund. That's not the trust account that is utilized with the tuition for the camp.
And just so you know what other expenses are, shirts for the staff, background checks, prizes, supplies, training, first aid kits, that's an estimated plus food cost.
And then we spend about, we get the grant for the food, which runs between $12,000 and $13,000 to feed the campers, at no cost to the campers. So that's breakfast and lunch that they get 5 days a week, for the week that they sign up for camp. I have also included the median incomes for Monmouth County, in the packet, which we don't truly have to go over, but I also did do a comparison of the neighboring towns for the camps that they have. Did you guys go over that?
We did go over
Yes.
the income.
All right, I don't want to reiterate too much unless the public would like to know. I do have these numbers available. We are by far, the least expensive, with the most hours, offering the most, meaning food. Most camps do not offer a food program. They don't offer as many hours as what we do.
If it rains, they don't have camp.
And if it rains, a lot of camps have open park camps. So if it's bad weather, come get your child, they have to go home. So, that's something else that, we don't have that issue. And, this year, we were looking to have, Rutgers interns, a part of the graduate school come in, and for the theme-based weeks, have them come in and actually learn a program from these interns as well. This is a program that, Ellen Williams, who is a resident of the community, has opened up through Rutgers, and, I'm quite excited about that they will, have that opportunity to work with a recent graduate. And, that's a wonderful, I think that's a wonderful social skill as well that we're going to offer for the students. Not just an educational value, but a social skill to have somebody new come in and have them learn from them. I have included all of our demographics, all of our, everything else that you could think of, and then another program that we are going to include this year for 13, 14-year-olds, 8th grade, is the counselor and training program. This is getting our residents, our camp goers, ready to become employees for upcoming camps and other internships that might become available in the borough. That's quite exciting as well. I think it's wonderful. I think we're giving the children a responsibility. and it gives them self-confidence. I don't really know if there's much more you want to hear from us. But I'll answer your question.
We have to decide on the fee by when?
Well,
We would need to introduce this ordinance at the next meeting and adopt the first meeting in June. That way we can open registration for June the 2nd, which I would like to have online registration. If anything's held up, what could happen is that the borough residents, of course, would be able to then register the child online, and we would collect the fee at a later date if everything's not ready. But I believe that we can come to a conclusion with this.
Thank you.
No, we didn't get to discuss it because there was no time and we had to move on to other things. That's why we're coming back to this now. One thing that is not in all of this data is our percentage of students from our grammar school that are on free and reduced lunch and breakfast from the school.
50%.
And it's 50%.
53%, yes.
And that's, no, it's not 53%. The latest number from the Board of Ed I got today
I
was
got the
49.
number too.
Yeah.
It was 53. Okay, good.
So that's even more. So then you're going to fight for the more. So that's 53% of the 188 students is 95 kids. So this room can safely hold, according to the fire marshal, 120 people. So that's 95 kids. Now you've got counselors, which you need to have on, I believe it's a 10-to-1 ratio. So you can't have the numbers that are proposed in here because they add up to 140, I believe. So that's going against the fire code, and you definitely don't want to do that. I think that this is, I just would like to finish. I just think this is a lot of information thrown at us at once. It's already May 1st. The latest time we've ever registered our kids has been May 4th, which is 3 days. And we still haven't come to any agreement and haven't really sat down and talked about all of these fees, with all of the information. And I think for this year, we should leave this as is, because we have given these families absolutely no time to plan for another solution.
But we've talked about fees, and
We've thrown things back and forth, but but other than saying, okay, I'm gonna start the conversation and throw out a number and either pick it apart or counter a number, or none of that has really happened.
I just want to let everybody know, in the audience, and for those who are listening at home tomorrow, I guess, that the last year's fees were $35 for the first 2 children, and then $10 each additional child for the entire 6 weeks. That was the resident fee. The non-resident fee is $50 for the first 2 children, $15 each additional child for all 6 weeks. And then we have here that 116 Highlands residents were registered and 151 non-residents were registered.
So we only can register 100.
No, it's not that we can only register 100.
One time, you can only have 120 people in this room at any one time. So you can register many more, but not for that one particular week.
Right.
And there were 9 at one time, I think, children here. That
Coincides with the week-by-week registration as well. Right.
Weekly, yes.
Right, so if you do the weekly, I think the most that was here probably were, Tim might even know better than me, it was probably like 80 children, 60 to 80 children, the most.
Diane, was that it?
Oh, Diane, it was big, it was big. I didn't get that information.
Yeah, so I think weekly will help quite a bit, so it will help regulate how many children are coming.
Especially if people know about planned vacations, because you plan out your vacations when you've got little ones, so you know that I'm going to be there for the first 3 weeks, but in the second 2 weeks, you know you're not going to be there, so you're not going to sign up for that.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
And we have to remember also, though, that's the public school number for the lunches. There also are other families that are private school that also can enroll as well. And that only accounts for, we only have 200 public school children enrolled in the school. So you have to remember that number is skewed a bit.
188 that are Highlands residents.
Right, just Highlands residents.
And we also haven't discussed, I know that we had brought it up when we first started doing the fees 2 years ago, in 2017, that we did open it up to non-Highlands residents, when historically it was never non-Highlands residents. It was only residents of our borough. And then when we see you just had those numbers of how many kids came from outside of the borough, there was more kids registered from outside of the borough than inside of the borough.
But remember that it does not open up for enrollment to outside the borough until all of the borough residents have had an opportunity to sign up. So the Highlands residents obviously get priority, and then once the Highlands residents close out, then only at that time is it open to outside
That's right.
residents.
It would be a week, so if it opened up June 2nd for Highlands residents, or we can even make enrollment sooner with the payment due later when the fees are adopted.
Make it all more imperative to get this done now.
Yes. Yes.
And then, so, percentage-wise, looking at it, yes, but when you look at what you get for the number, there's still a scholarship,
Some
though.
of Highlands, but wait, 1 second. So we can define this. It's not all of Highlands residents can't afford it. It's some of Highlands residents can't afford it. And wait a second. We said that there will be scholarships available for the families that cannot afford it. Look, I can only commit to this year, because that's what we're talking about, and...
But in actuality, as I remember this,
Nothing for 35. We didn't actually pick, I don't know
We
how
haven't
the
picked the number.
$30 a week got out there, but we didn't pick a number yet.
And I have to tell you, to be quite honest, the numbers that we have been circulating, $30 has never been one of the numbers. So I don't know where that number came from.
Whatever number it is, it's a pretty big increase to go from 1 to at least 3 weeks, especially when you're bringing it on people within a month.
well, wait a minute. As I recall, when this ordinance was moved a few years ago, it was to make this whole setup self-sufficient through enrollment. That's what I thought the purpose was. You're nodding your head, right? That's what the drive was for it. So just knowing that, you have to figure that the fee is going to increase.
Right. And Miss, I'm not sure, were you here during the workshop initially? Okay. So I think it's important, since you weren't here, to know that these are taxpayer dollars, okay? Not that the town doesn't support the children. However, when we have 188 children in this town who may or want to come into this camp, we have almost 5,000 residents in this town who are actually paying for those 188 children to come to this camp. So this is $50,000 approximately of taxpayer dollars. But
every
yes?
topic could be broken down that way,
That's
and that
right.
turns out to be quite a big pinch.
Right, so what we're asking is, we're asking for the entire town to pay for only 188 children. So, along with that, we're also, I believe that we're also trying to increase the quality of the program, and we did have a workshop here last month, we did have a workshop in reference to this exact camp about a month ago, and there were mothers came, who said that they did not mind paying more for a better quality program. So we have to take everyone's, opinion into account.
The last 2 years, I personally provided scholarships to the program, but my concern is with the numbers that we're talking about. In the first year, it benefited 14 kids, and last year it benefited 9 kids, just because of the first 2 kids and the added siblings. But this wouldn't even pay for 1 kid. So, I don't know.
For every week.
And then there's also the fee waiver form that happened last year, and do we waive people that are on the free and reduced? It's something that should be discussed. It's like, for more topics that we can discuss together as a group. I did, and we waived the fee. I didn't put this in, I have nothing to do with this. The ordinance was a registration fee, a one-time registration fee.
To charge enough money to make it self-sufficient, so I don't know what you want to do with it.
Claudette, you wanna?
Claudette Dorigo, 12 Cedar. I am the person that brought the initial fee, as we all know, forward. I also am the one that brought all the statistics in from Asbury Park, that they pay $196 a kid in Asbury Park. Red Bank was over 200. I don't have the exact statistics because I didn't know you were going to discuss this
We
tonight.
have some, we have them here.
Okay. So, it's every town has a fee. When I brought it forward, I was lambasted, told that I was destroying the town. I can't even begin. I know, Rick, you even said you were opposed to the fee initially. And I kept explaining to everyone that you cannot run a quality program and pay for quality if you don't have the income coming in. You have lights, you have air conditioning, you have lifeguards on the beach, you have all of these things that need to be subsidized. You can't do that with a free program. And it's not fair to the taxpayers in this town to continually fund these things for everyone. Reduce lunches, you don't even want to go down that road because that's a whole different ballgame here. If you don't, I can get a reduced lunch if I want, because I'm a senior. I mean, you can't go by that criteria and say, well, everybody can't afford it because they're getting a reduced lunch in school. The program of reduced lunch has been instituted so everybody gets breakfast and lunch right now because they want kids to have breakfast and lunch in school. So that's part of the criteria. So you have to keep that in mind when you're doing this. And $35, when you compare the Monmouth County Park, I think Mr. Chabarak knows, the Monmouth County Park program is like $600. This is cheap, and everybody that came last summer, because I was here and I came into that program, said, this is great. It's practically free. That's why we have 165 or 188 kids registered in this program, was because it was practically free. And why should we fund everybody? That's crazy.
When you look at the fees that they
Yes.
put on this list,
I think, Mayor, I'd like to read some of those, because some of the parents weren't here earlier. And I've tried to do a comparison between the towns that had similar median household incomes as Highlands. I mean, for one, Hazlet, that's $325 for 4 weeks of camp, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and their camp is weather permitting. That's just one example. So when you do that type of comparison, I understand how the parents feel. I am a parent also. I've been a working mother since my children were 1 year old, and I had to pay for camp every summer for 2 children. The fees that are even being recommended here are still very, very, very low for what is being offered. And I do agree with Ms. DiRigo when she says that we do also have to take into consideration the taxpayers in general who are also paying the bill for the 188 children that are in this town.
Well, the $49,000 or whatever it is, doesn't include utilities.
That's right. It does not.
I didn't do fringe.
Right, or the building, the electricity, the air conditioning. What is the fee after the basement and rental?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
It's ranged from $5 a week to $25 a week. And then double or triple for people outside of town. It's in there. Oh, no, maybe it was Ken's, not Ken, Jen.
And it's lower than what everybody else has around.
Oh, it's,
You might be able to make it clear to residents that don't quite understand that free is never free. That, to have like $300 for whatever it is that you want to do for that 60 period. So people can get protected.
Wait, it's 5 weeks. It's 5 weeks. Well, those need to be raised astronomically, or they don't come in, either way. I don't know, I guess my point is that this shouldn't be about making money. It was initially, the fee was about, not even covering costs, that $35 times 100 kids is not gonna cover any costs. It was about, hang on, let me finish, it was about making it have a value. And what did have a value. I understand the whole weekly business, or, this was supposed to be just a registration fee, not a per-week fee, or a, hourly fee, or anything like that.
But however you slice it or dice it,
Right.
the drive of it was to become self-sufficient. That's what it was.
That was never my intention.
No, that was the whole intention. That was the whole intention.
No, it was to give value to the program. All right.
If you're going to make it self-sufficient and charge everybody what it costs to operate, and this is not even a close figure, but just from a quick calculation, it's $461 per kid if there's 105 kids. But that doesn't include facility costs and the cost of the lifeguard and a bunch of other things. So it's really, it's expensive to do this for the kids. Now, I think there's a meeting place somewhere in the middle. I think we should be willing to subsidize the Highlands residents' children, but I do not want to subsidize children from other towns.
Absolutely not.
I agree.
You could charge them a lot more, but even so, we're still not covering all the costs. This is far from being self-sufficient.
Exactly. What did you say it was going to be? $400?
You want a very rough calculation.
That's insanity.
It's actually, but it's not insanity. If you have children, and you had your children going to a camp, and I'm not saying for here, but if you had to put your children in any other camp, you're spending that, at least. I'm telling you, back in 1992, Seashore Day Camp was $3,000 for the summer. $3,000. I know that because I paid that for my stepson to go there. And that was with a police discount. So this is really, it's not. You have to give the value to it that everybody involved in this respects this program and that we have the counselors that we need. And this isn't just that we have the counselors that we need to help our kids, save us money, but to have what's required for the children. I mean, everything is not free in life, and it's hard. And let me tell you what, I was a single parent too. And guess what I did before I went to work every day? I delivered newspapers before I went to my full-time job, okay? To pay for my kids to get extra. And I'm not asking anybody else to do that. I'm just saying, there are things that need to be paid for in life, and your children will respect it. They don't have to know they're on free and reduced. They don't have to know they're on scholarship. Nobody needs to know that. But to know that there's a value to the program that they're going to, that's what counts. And not to say, oh, I'm just going to the free camp. You know, you think kids don't say that? They say it.
Yes. Here's another thing. Kim, have you spoken to anyone, or do you have any intention of, or interest from anybody on the outside who could come and who intends to work here, who has, any kind of, experience, yes, credentials? Let's talk
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so, we are looking at changing the setup of who we hire as well this year. So, one of the head camp leaders that I have spoken to and I'm interested in having, another sit-down with, they have their special ed certification as well, for special needs. And, that's something that we want to address and we want to make sure that we can handle because it doesn't always have to be disclosed in camp, which we had learned last year. And, we need to be ready for those situations. So it's for those types of individuals, meaning the counselors themselves, that we want to make sure we get the right people in here as well. I really have taken a good look at this and done a lot of work on this, like I have said. And I've come down to the camp during the days and to see kids just walk out and leave. They were bored. They didn't like what was happening, text their parent, come and leave. I just think that there will be a difference with the week-by-week registration and, putting a little bit into it. And I don't think we're gonna make a whole. I think that the Highlands is going to subsidize a portion, a good majority of it. But it's offsetting costs, right? It's all about offsetting to the best of your ability. And if that can be done, I think it should be done. It's a responsibility.
Thank you.
First, anywhere from $25 to $40. I know that on those activities, I know that for a fact, that there's wait lists down.
Yeah.
Suddenly, all these people that couldn't afford $35 a week could afford $40 to go to the bowling alley or the roller skating rink. Am I correct on that?
I don't know if it was people that could or could not afford it, but there was always a wait list.
So, listen, 60% of the camp...
My own children actually came to the camp last year, and I didn't send them on any of the trips because there were Highlands kids that wanted to
But
go
you're
on
right,
the
the
trip.
bus would come back in the afternoon filled with kids.
That never showed up other days for the camp. Not for those kids that needed to come for breakfast and lunch, but it was kids that signed up for that entire summer but didn't come any other day, but the date that it was that special trip, that was anywhere between $15 and $35 a trip. And that's not fair to that child who will sign up week by week because their parents need to make sure they get that breakfast and
Let
lunch.
me just ask the question, because I've been out of the game for a while. What's the cost to have a babysitter if you had to do that?
$10 an hour. That's a younger, that's a 12, 13-year-old watching your kids. Otherwise, that's $20 an hour.
So that's $80 a day. I have no
Oh, I'm
idea.
telling you.
No.
I make
No.
I'm saying.
Not for nothing, even if you didn't need a babysitter, the cost of your breakfast and lunch for the days you're home probably costs more than the fee, per week, the per week fee that we're considering. So it's not that outrageous.
Mr. Corcoran? We did a survey.
Yes, we did a parent survey, a child survey, and a counselor survey.
Of the people that attended or the people that did not attend?
Full. Yeah, a lot of it, it was structure. They felt as though the kids did not have enough structure during the day. That was one of the reasons. There were other people that were absolutely happy with the program and loved it. There were people that liked the program the year before. But I would say a majority were looking forward to the structured activities. And that's where we really geared this year towards. I sat down with, it was Ellen Williams, who, she sets up camps and programs through Rutgers, 4-H, and some other organization, and it was the recreation coordinator. We sat down for 3 meetings to decipher what was the best program moving forward, what was the best for the families, the children, the employees, the borough as a whole, and this was, our outcome was, going week to week, switching the hours up a little bit, so that way the borough didn't have as much of a liability for the sick time payments, doing an aftercare program, because some of the children didn't want to be here all day long either. If there's a child that has the parent home during the day, and they just want to get that kid out the door, I get it. They might not want to come till 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So doing 8:30 to 1:30, that gets that child out, it gets them motivated, it keeps them socialized, it keeps them into their transitioning skills that they need to have for school and the real world. Yet we offer the aftercare for people that might need that extra bit of care.
And on top of that, to keep somebody else out.
Well, and this was, like, I signed my children up, and I knew I had a child that wasn't going to attend 3 of the weeks. So I said, can I give that 3 weeks to another, and that wasn't we weren't capable of doing that. It was an all or nothing deal. So it was like, all right, I'm pulling that kid out, give it to somebody else. So that's how we did it.
So what do we want to do with it?
Another thing that was discussed but never flushed out was a sliding scale that's income-based.
That gets tricky, though.
Yeah.
Because, people don't want to give their salary. And I don't blame them for doing that.
Yeah, me too.
I think that knowing that you can ask for a grant or scholarship for your kids to one person is easier than having your finances out there to everybody, and
Well, it wouldn't be out to everybody, it would be that same
yeah, but
waiver
still even
form.
having to do it, it's embarrassing for people, and I don't think people need to do that.
That adds to the expense of running the
Right.
whole thing, we review all that.
There is a form that has to be filled out for the lunch program, though, right? I think this year you do have to fill out the lunch form, right? That you have to put how many children are in the household, what the income is. I think that's a requirement of the grant. So that is gonna have to happen.
We have that form, and we've used it the last couple of years, the waiver form. I found that in my email.
One of the biggest busts with government employees was that lunch form, because there's no checking it.
So let's think of a number here to get
Yes,
this started.
yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. You know, and to be frank, I was a latchkey kid. I didn't go to camp because my mother couldn't afford to send me to camp. So I got the key, and, there you go, I was on my own making trouble. So I don't want that. I don't want people to be priced out of something that is a good program.
I was content with that, and I think whatever it was, we're gonna run it, what, 50 minutes? Then they can't show that we were,
I will. I'm gonna call Elliot tomorrow. No.
I remember my wife bringing my kids down here, Deacon and Trina, get signed up, so that's where you went. That's all I was told.
What's fair?
It's totally subjective. What's fair?
We'll have
Well,
scholarships.
if you're gonna still have the scholarships, I mean, just to do a direct comparison, say you've got, I'll take the Burtons for example. Last year, they had 2 kids in the program, and they only went for 2 weeks, but they paid $45. $35 plus an additional kid is $45. she spent that for 2 weeks. So it's like, I just did a bunch of math on my phone, and it was like, all right, so it's, to be comparable, to be comparable, $5 would equal 25, that would be for 5 weeks. But if she's only gonna go for 2 weeks, you could do, I don't know, 10? You start at 10 for Highlands residents?
A week?
I'm just saying, yes. Do you
I was
start-
thinking more 20.
So the 20 would be $100 per
At
day
least, I mean,
for
that's,
5 weeks. That's just the 8:30 to 1:30. I'm just trying to do the whole program, because it's easier to deal with the whole program number,
Yes.
in my
Right,
opinion.
$20 per child.
Per week.
5 weeks is $100 for the whole 5 weeks,
Right.
and that's breakfast, lunch, and snack?
I thought you were supposed to say dinner. I'm like-
I know, I was waiting for dinner.
They have to go home.
Breakfast, lunch, and snack.
Breakfast, lunch, and snack for $20 for one child for 5 days.
Not
And
including...
then that number should be double for outside of town.
Or maybe even more.
Maybe, yeah, more than double, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Yes. That's right.
$100 a
Right.
week. $100 a week for outsiders?
No, I'm saying Middletown, I think it runs between 85
We
and
have the
100
numbers for Middletown. We have the numbers for all these different towns. At $20 a week per child is unheard of on this, in this
So I'm
list.
saying, for our,
But for our,
So, how about for,
$20 a week per child, no finding scale.
and then there's still, believe, whatever scholarships
there are
available.
scholarships
And then
available.
the extra payment would be what, then you have to come up with that number.
So then, wait, but then you're gonna change the hours to 1:30, right? That's what's on the table here, so...
That's right.
8:30 to 2:30 goes away. Yeah. I was gonna say, it
well,
really
we did,
doesn't.
No.
we had talked about...
There's an aftercare
Yeah,
set
there's
up.
an aftercare, yeah.
8:30 to
So what happens is they sign up for that, because we have regular recreation
There would be
employees that are here year-round, that will then work those hours.
No. If you pay the camp, if you paid the money for the camp for your child, we talked about the aftercare being how much you
$5 or $10 a week,
yeah, $5 or $10 a week from 1:30
where it
to,
costs us $10 an hour
Right.
per employee.
which would be from
And it's Highlands residents
What?
only,
the aftercare
or that gets
for
trickled as well.
$5 a week,
That would get,
from 1:30 to 3:30?
Yeah.
it offsets the cost of the borough paying it. It doesn't go to anything, by no means is there a surplus. If the program's costing the borough, it's costing the borough about $50,000, $60,000 a summer. That would be $461, which we're not looking to
See, that would
do.
be, the money
We're
is
not
going...
changing.
Yeah, the money's going to be used towards salaries, supplies. So if we were really to cost it out, it'd be $461 a week, yeah, or $461
Not
for the program.
including our federal
Yeah.
fees that we pay for
Plus, we have to
employees.
pay,
461.
yeah, plus we have to pay social security fees, we have to pay towards,
27
No, per
$7 a
child.
day per child, with 2 meals and a snack.
And remember, there's still a scholarship program out there. And that doesn't mean that you need to even supplement it with what's donated. You can create a number as well.
Listen, how many scholarships do you have?
There were only 9 applied last year.
9 applied for, okay?
And there were 14
You
on the
have
first.
2 people here that have some children, probably not 9 together, right? So we come up 9 kids together, right? 5 kids together, okay? That could be covered by the scholarship, and you could put a cost to this real project. Because, to me, these 2 ladies came out because they were concerned. So we should watch out for them.
Right,
The other
okay.
people that aren't here must not have a problem with whatever you charge.
that's what we're saying, we're
You
not
know,
going to...
$7 a day, come on. $7 a day, you keep your kid home, he spends that on taxes. $7 a day.
You can't, yeah, right, you can't feed your child for $7 a day. You can't. You cannot.
$25, you know,
Not in
As I
2019,
recall-
right, not in 2019.
wait a second. As I recall, the whole ordinance that changed this to pay for it was to make this self-sufficient as close as possible. And $5 a day, $7 a day, $10 a day, that's not even cutting it. But is that reasonable? Sure it is. In reality, maybe $125 a week, maybe. I don't know, but the numbers we're talking don't justify the cost that was there.
But we're still way under the cost.
We're way under. And we're just talking about running that program, not the whole facility, not having the officer come by a couple times a day. You know, it's just, and that's how I feel. You guys came out, we get them some scholarships or something, nobody else seems to care, but they're not here.
That's not They were there were some people at the earlier meeting that left.
Okay.
That had to get home to their kids. Work backwards, yeah.
And I'm not looking to deny anybody's kid.
That's right. That's
You know,
right.
Atlantic Highlands, $150 a resident, $175 for non.
And that's from 9 to 12.
$325.
No meals.
Yeah, you gotta look at
Hazlet is $325 a resident, $625 non-resident, 50 siblings, no food. That's from 9 to 3 for 4 weeks.
No food.
Sports camps are $100 weekly, 2 hours each.
But let's just go Atlantic Highlands. The $150 for 6 weeks.
No.
And you know what? When you go to Atlantic Highlands, you don't have a lifeguard at beach either. So because, yes, Steve.
They don't.
Okay.
A lot more important than what the investment was. When we didn't have to look at the responsibility. Okay? That being said, let's take a look at this. Let's start doing things to really do that. And I don't think 125 is unreasonable.
I don't think so myself, but to go from where we're at to there right now, I don't think that's reasonable.
Right.
Yeah, you can't, so what that would be going from $45 for 2 kids to $200 for 2 kids, and that's not fair.
Right.
Right, and I'm not asking for that.
And you make it up by you charge, okay, if we do $20 for our residents, well, then we're charging $60 a week
for an
non.
outsider.
And that's all fine, but we have to set some kind of game plan. We're gonna be here next June.
Yes,
that's right.
And there is also a positive, I think, when you do have the out-of-town kids come in. Highlands is very small. I think it's great that kids made friends with children from other towns last year. My daughter Karen that came, she keeps in touch with the Highlands kids, there were Middletown children, there was one, I think, a student came from Keensburg. So, I mean, there is something else that we are offering to these children as well. Socialization, networking, that's important as well. I do want to keep that in mind. And we didn't let them use their phone. And we did not let them use their phone. They
That's
had
wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's great. We like that.
Hang on a second, yes, sir?
For the entire summer.
I don't have kids, but my kids are 27, 25.
Mine too.
But for that price, they might want to come down.
You can't get a beach pass for
I was
that.
thinking about coming down on my vacation. But honestly, I mean, we're cutting the parents now pretty close. You're talking about, it's already May 1st.
Right.
Usually you already have registration. Personally, I would like to see the town pick up something also, taxpayer-wise, taxpayer. I'd like to see, you know, the scholarships also, keep it at the same price this year, or towards next year, and bang me out of town.
I think we should go up on this side for residents and Bangor out of town.
I agree.
We need to bang out of town.
Because,
Yes.
because if we don't feel some pain going up, we're gonna feel it all at one time.
That's exactly right. We have to,
You know, Rick, talking about the last minister, we're trying to talk about it as a restaurant, that we're not working on the process, where we're starting in October, to talk about this.
Well, then, you know what?
This has been discussed for several weeks.
That's what I'm saying, we just haven't been able to discuss it all together,
We did it at last workshop, we did discuss it.
but not in any great detail.
But you know
That
what?
was my thinking.
I think you're right. If we do it in October, where it's still fresh in our mind from the end of the camp season, then we can work
Just so
on it.
you know, we did meet.
Yeah.
I did meet. I met with the coordinator, and I met with the outside consultant and myself. It just was not brought forward to recreation. So that's not, so, that's what everyone has tonight, is what I've had. Right. So, right. The problem was that the coordinator didn't go to the one meeting for rec that she was supposed to bring it up. And then I think at the last meeting, it wasn't brought up clearly as well.
and we do have a rec coordinator.
We do have a coordinator, yeah. So, and that's their job to set it up.
Is there a set number, or I don't know?
Is there what? I'm sorry. What?
There's a set number of scholarships that you can give out. As you said, 9 out of last year, they only 9 applied.
Only 9 applied.
There was probably more than 9, but nobody applied.
9 applied.
You mean, do we have a limit?
Everyone got it.
There is no limit, because it's resident-driven. Like, I personally did, I know another gentleman in town that personally gave money, but it's not, we're not asking, I shouldn't say we're not asking, we're not demanding of residents to give out monies for scholarships. It's up to them what they feel is the right thing to do.
So that's what I'm saying, the scholarships came from the town, or they came from a private person?
They were administered by the town.
Exactly, they came from a private person, but the borough administrator.
That's not necessarily true either. That's something that we could discuss and also set into the future. Understood, Kim. I know what you're saying, right? Yeah, absolutely. So we would have to, right, have a certain number of children that we would,
You two ladies have to see Mr. Dollar, okay? You two ladies have to see Mr. Dollar.
All right, so where are we?
And Kim, I'm telling you right now, as long as I sit on this side of this table, I'm gonna give that scholarship to the borough.
All right, so are we at $20 a week and $5 a week for extended time for residents? Is that where we're sitting? And then so for non-residents,
60.
60, and then
And the
for
same
non-residents,
thing, triple the dollars. So that's
So
$5, so that's
15.
15.
all right, so that's it. We're done.
okay, thank you.
Are we done? Is that it?
I don't know.
This has to be done.
Oh, well, I know,
No,
but this,
no,
but
yeah.
this is,
Well, now we have the core of it.
so that's,
Now, there's also late
So
fees.
that's $20 a child, no sliding scale, it's $40 a child a week. Is that what it is?
That's what it is, and the scholarships will be there.
Yes.
And now the late fees. Again, late fees should be triple if you're out. If you're,
Outside of
if
Highlands.
you're late, if you're outside.
Outside of Highlands, triple.
I mean, a late pickup.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I thought we said that. I thought we said that was gonna be like $5 and 15.
15, yeah.
It's the
$5 and
late
15.
registration fees.
Ah.
So there's late registration, so you register late. Now, remember, we have to set this up and keep track of it. I think it should just be a $10 late fee for whoever registers, and that's it.
What are you going to set the registration date? The current ordinance says June 15th. The earliest ordinance to be adopted is June 5th.
Same date. If you want. I think that's fine. Let me tell you, it signs up in one day, Brian, one day.
When does it start? First day of camp?
July the 7th.
It's right after, it's right after,
Fourth of July.
It's July 8th.
July 8th.
It's July 8th
We
through
can
August
send it
16th.
to June, whatever, it doesn't matter. The dates are made. We do online registration now. It's gotta go online, so it's not the same. The problem that used to happen, what was that, Bonnie? What?
I have a question.
I hope it's all going to the same school.
I was gonna say,
Right now, there's a late fee if you pay after June 15th, right?
Right.
And the meeting date for adoption will be June 5th, just keep that in mind. So if you want to change that late fee date,
Yes, we have to change the late fee
Right.
because the registration...
it's either that or we do a special meeting to get this done faster.
So what
That's your
it's done
option.
much faster.
Huh?
It's done much faster.
No, not much.
Wait, I think we can just extend the late fee date and not...
I agree.
mean, especially meetings too much.
Yes.
What do the kids do in the interim between June 23rd?
Don't ask that question.
They're gonna go party at your house.
I'm just asking. Maybe it's not enough.
We are.
This is the same amount of time that the program's been.
I understand that, but
And maybe we should have our community center open for kids to just come and play, and it just doesn't have to be a
like I said,
program.
I've been out of the business for a while.
Like that.
You know, my youngest
That makes sense.
is 23.
You have to staff it then.
But what happens
We
in the
should.
interim between when your kids get out of school and start?
And that's $5,000.
So maybe going forward the next year, maybe camp has to start earlier? Because there's 2 weeks of layover
Sure.
from when school gets out and when the camp picks up.
There's also time in between when the camp ends and school starts as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
That's just on the premises that the
10 and 30,
$10.
$10.
and 30 for non-residents.
And what,
Isn't it easy to just go straight across the board?
At
Well,
any
that's fine.
point that we can bang outside
Except
residents, I can't believe I'm saying that, but whatever. It's already said, cat's out of the bag.
And you
Absolutely.
want it.
Well, I mean, look at Hazlet, 325 to residents and 625 for non. So,
Well, the thing of it is if the number's not right here, you're gonna feel more pain next year.
Right.
But sooner or later, if the goal is the same, to make it self-sufficient,
Right, so
you know?
we have to move forward a little bit each time because you can't jump from $35 for the entire
two.
summer
right.
to next year being $60 a week per child. I mean, that's just not,
You can't.
that's not
It needs to be
fair,
incremental.
and it has to be incremental.
You know, you negotiate.
Right.
Because
Right.
out-of-towners come to the camp. After Highlands is filled up.
We do. Registration opens for Highlands. That's what we do.
So, no.
Yeah, well, we take our Highlands kids first. They have first registration. So,
Mm. Well, they're working where they couldn't get it clear. I didn't have it.
I have kids that are working.
There you go. All right, no, he said you.
All right, so here's my other question for the rest of the council. If we're going to do an increase next year, you want us to set the percentage tonight
Percentage of,
or now?
No, I wouldn't say no, because I want to see what happens this summer.
Okay.
Let's see how many we get enrolled, how popular it becomes.
We'll talk about it way before,
We'll
yeah,
start
we'll talk about it in January.
in September.
that comes to motion that for the next 4 years, and then it's half a cent per year, or whatever you're going to do, until you get on Union Field, which is surrounding town. Yes. Until you're on Union Field, which is surrounding town, you're going to have a huge problem. No matter how much you charge the outcome, you're still going to have huge problem.
We limited it though this year, right? We were going to limit that.
The problem with that is, if you don't set the base high enough, you'll never catch up at 10%.
And so we did
Right.
limit the non-residents coming in, so
Yeah, we do,
we're not
we
going
need
to
to
get
limit
that
it.
much money from the non-residents.
No, no,
because you
absolutely,
have.
that's why we have to get
And if they don't
the
come,
most that we can.
I think that was.
That's right. I agree.
Hazlet has a pool. Hazlet, you get swim lessons and swim time.
But we have to pay
They do it.
for our lifeguards and pay
We
for the
have a
beach
lifeguard,
sweepers.
we have a beach.
Those lifeguards cost $35,000. Those lifeguards, they cost $35,000.
They do.
For a free beach, yes. $35,000
It's gonna be cleaner this
for
year.
2 beaches.
It's gonna be, I know. It was limited last year, right, because of the fecal
We're working on these
contamination.
sewer projects.
But we got $2.5 million left.
Well, when you look at the whole scope of things, it's $49,000 for this,
What was the action? I don't
$35,000 for
think
the
we got that
lifeguard, plus you gotta clean the beach, you know. It's a $100,000 beach program. Are we straight on this now?
I was gonna say,
Brian, you got it?
do you have everything?
Lightning round.
It's a lightning round, and then it's 15 for out of town.
All right.
We
You
good?
need us to review it, Brian?
20 weeks per resident, $5 per applicant
Per week?
per week. At $60 per week non-resident, $15 applicant non-resident, $10 late fee if that's between 20.
And 30 for
30 for
non-residents.
non-residents.
Got it.
Okay. And so let's just all hope for happy campers. I need to go home.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for coming out.